First, I would like to thank all of you wonderful, wonderful people for allowing me to take part in something that I think is so desperately needed in our communities throughout this country, not just in African American communities, but throughout the nation, because poverty is something that's affecting all people. It doesn't see race, it just sees class. So I'm very thankful to be here to be able to talk about this today. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Yesterday, my good friend, Judge Mathis, was here speaking, and he spoke so well, And when he came off stage, he came and gave me a big hug, and he said, "I'm so proud of you." I said, "I'm proud of you too, Greg, but I'm so mad at you." He said, "What are you mad at me for?" I said, "You took my speech. I gotta go write a brand new speech now." I said, "Everything you was gonna talk about, I was gonna talk about, man." He said, "Well, that's what lawyers do. We kind of think alike sometimes." I said, "Yes, we do." So I was up to 3 o'clock this morning working on this speech. So excuse me if my voice isn't that strong, but I want to start off by talking about a couple of things. In this speech, I'm going to talk about religion. I'm going to talk about civil rights, and I'm going to talk about where I envision this going in 2008 and above. When you look at the history of civil rights in this country, in the early 50s and in the 60s, when Brown v. Board of Education, when we were fighting to vote, when the Voter Rights Acts were passed, all these things from education to equal housing to equal employment were all discussed and fought on the battlefield loudly and clearly where everybody would hear it and know about it. But it was one other fight that nobody talked about, except a couple of people, and that was the health care in this country. Luckily, we had some very strong doctors at the time, very strong lawyers at the time, who were smart enough to put Title VI in. They snuck it in on them. That wasn't supposed to be part of the Civil Rights Act, but they snuck it in on them to allow hospitals to also be integrated, where people would be able to come and see people who look like them, helping them to get healthy. Now, after that, we had a little bit with Medicare and Medicaid that came into the field. But today, pharmaceutical companies, corporations, healthcare executives, segregation is not part of their vocabulary. The policymakers, the advocacy groups, in their discussions of racial disparities in treatment, they don't talk about segregation. And that's maybe one of the biggest things that's going on in this country with the healthcare. It is very much segregated. But it's not segregated on color. It's segregated on money, poverty, those who are without. We have 42 million Americans in this country that are uninsured. We have politicians who are giving us this, what I call comical relief, talking about their universal health plans, how they're going to do this and how they're going to do that. I'm sorry, I'm 34 years old. Because I am in a position where I deal with politics every day, I may not know everything, and I would be lying to you if I told you I did. But I do like to research. And based on my research, we've been talking about a universal health care plan in this country, from politicians to when you go back to the first televised debate between Nixon and Kennedy. If you don't believe me, YouTube it tonight. You can see it for yourself. One of the big issues in '76 was universal health care with Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. This issue has been on the table forever. But the question becomes not if we know the issue, but how do we solve the problem? Well, you wonderful people in here tonight, coming together, working together. That's going to do a lot to fix some of the problems. But I think we need to step out and do a little bit more. Let's go back. so people really will understand why healthcare is so important. How many of you know the name Jesus? But don't, if you know the name Jesus, you don't say yeah, you say yes. I know the man named Jesus. How many of you know the name Jesus? Thank you, Doctor. Jesus of Nazareth. What was he? When he came out and said that he was the Son of God, how did he attract the people? Why did people follow him? Why did they desperately want to touch him? Because he was going into the areas of poverty and healing. He was a healer. He was taking the sick and making them well. That is something that we need to be looking at in this country right now. We sometimes forget the stories of the Bible. And see, I'm a big believer. I'm not a minister, but I'm sorry, I love the Lord. I'm a big believer in following stories of the Bible because they are applicable even today when we're dealing with certain issues and things. How many of you know the story of Naaman? Naaman was a soldier, a captain, a colonel, destroying and winning and conquering, who was a leper. He got so sick and was so horrible to look at, he went to his knees and asked a slave girl to help him. Tell me about this God that you believe in. Can he cure me? Can he help me? He had to get to his knees and ask a slave to help him. This slave woman said, yes, we got to go to the river, man. We got to go to the river. And when we go to this river, you're going to go in there 7 times. And you will be healed. He went to the river. He went in there the first time. Came out, nothing. Went in there 2nd, 3rd, 4th time. Came out, now he upset. Why am I listening to a slave? I'm just getting money. She said, well, you've been in there 4 times already. You might as well go the other 3. So he went in there the 5th and the 6th time. Nothing. On the 6th time, he said, I'm not going back in there. She said, Master, why would you do it 6 times and not 1 more? A wise man would complete the task. When he went in on the 7th time, when he came out, his skin was smooth as a baby, not a blemish, not a pimple, not nothing. He fell to his knees and said, thank you. She said, thank me, not thank he. Thank God. We are at a point in time in this country where we need to listen to the slave girl. We need to listen to the slave girl. The slave girl are the poor, those who need help, those who need understanding when nobody's listening to them. Many of us have come from backgrounds where we either had 1 or 2 areas. It was either you came from a working class family where both of your parents were there. They supported you through your educational system for you to have a better life. Or you grew up like I did. Well, I remember standing in a cheese line to get free government cheese. I remember playing with roaches as marbles. I remember 6 of us being in 2 bunk beds. But my mother, my grandmother, and my aunt, Lord, I believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, but I had them in my house too. I had the Holy Trinity there. Because my mother refused to let me and my siblings believe we wasn't as good, that we didn't have the right, that we didn't have the opportunity. My mother would drive us in the neighborhoods of all these rich, affluent people, and she would drive and act like she knew them. That's where the postman lives. This is where your teacher lives. She wanted us to think, even though she didn't know them, she wanted her children to believe, if you go to school, this is what you will have. it's more than just going to school and becoming educated and becoming successful. It comes a time when you have to reach back. It comes a time where God has given you the opportunity to be firm and be strong and be able to say, I climbed up the mountain. I'm standing up there, the view is beautiful. But whether you grew up rich or you grew up poor, when you climbed up the mountain, your feet never touched the ground because you walked on the backs of those who came before you. When you get up to the mountain, admire the view, but don't forget to lay down and let somebody walk on your back. My grandmother used to tell me and my siblings this poem, and at the time, I didn't know what the poem was. And as I was growing up, I told her, stop saying that poem, you're embarrassing me when my friends and stuff come over. But now, I understand why she was saying this poem. I want to share with you. I printed it out so I would know that the words were correct and I wasn't messing it up. She said, well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I've been a climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps, because you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing, and life for me has not been no crystal stair. That was a poem by Langston Hughes. I didn't know that at the time. But my grandmother would say that to us. An uneducated woman who wanted us to get an education. Education is so important in the healthcare industry as well. We have to teach the poor, the middle class, the rich even, why it's so important to be actively involved in something like this. We as African American men, look, I'm gonna call us out right now. We get sick, we're not going to the doctor. I don't want to know what's going on. Give me some Tylenol and some Vaseline, I'm well. We need to stop having that attitude and that approach. If something is wrong, immediately go to your doctor. Go ask your family members, your cousins, your aunties, your uncles. Ask them have they had their daily checkups and see if they're getting the medical service that they need and deserve, because so many of your family members who are not educated, who do not have the money and the insurance that you have, are getting segregated. They're getting not good health care treatment, but treatment that for some may not even be available. We live in the richest country in this world. We're 29th when it comes to health care. It's something wrong when you think about that. With all the progress that we've made in this country in these times, how could we be 29th? Well, I pull that into the civil rights arena right here. See, I think we're at a place and time that's very important as far as leadership. I've been very blessed this last year. And I say that in this sense. I sat in the war room. I was part of the planning for Gina, Louisiana. I sat in the war room. I was part of the planning for the blackout. I sat in the war room. I was part of the planning for the march on D.C. I sat in the war room. I was part of the planning for Memphis last week when we rededicated ourselves for Dr. King. I'm going to Portland and flying right back to D.C. because we're meeting in D.C. next week for the Poor People's March that we're planning on doing August 23rd in D.C. I've been blessed to be in the war room with civil rights leaders. I'm the youngest one in there. And I sit and I watch. I don't talk too much. Anybody knows me knows I like to talk. But I don't talk when I'm around people that I really think have a keen knowledge and sense of what's going on, because I want to learn from them. So I'm trying to absorb, I'm like trying to be like a sponge and absorb everything that they're talking to me about. And I realized something when I was sitting in these war rooms and people were strategizing, Lord, to make things right. And I realized that, you know, we make things so difficult sometimes, when really all we have to do is have geese sense. Now, many of you in the audience be like, geese sense? What are you talking about? You ever seen geese fly? They fly in the flock like this. Seen them fly like that? It's one in the front and everybody else like this. Geese smart, let me tell you why. Imagine if we had leadership like this. You got one in the front who's flying and they taking all the stuff they can take. And then when they can't take it no more, what do? They drop back and the next one move up. We don't have leadership like that. Our leadership is, I'm in the front, stay back. Stay back. I'm up here. I don't want nobody else up here. We are at a point in time in this country when we need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice. We need leaders not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. We need leaders who can subject their particular egos for the greatness and the cause of the movement. We need leaders who want to lead not because, but because God has told them to. See, I want to tell you something. It's real easy to stand in the warmth of the summer sun. But only a real soldier will stand with you in the snow, in the midnight hour, in the alpine, in chilly, cold, below zero weather. We are here today because we have a common cause. But this shouldn't be a common cause of just talk. It should be a common cause of action. It should be a commitment to everybody in this room who are taking part of this, who has made the commitment to be here today, to make the same commitment every day. See, I speak at colleges all across the country, and I tell the college graduates this all the time. Do not worry about the leader that you may see on the news or in the newspaper or out in front. I don't see, for me, I'm a little bit different. I'm just a different kind of cat, I guess. Because see, when I wake up in the morning, I don't have to worry about leadership. Because when I look in the mirror, I see Martin. I see Malcolm. I see Sojourner Truth. I see Jesus. I don't have to worry. I don't have to say, where's my leader? Where's my Savior? Woe is me. We need somebody to come save us, help us, help us, help us. I can save me. And after I save me, then I'm going to reach out to save you. I live by one motto in my life now. Push me and I will pull you. If you push me while I'm going up the mountain and I'm pulling you at the same time, when I get to the top and I'm looking down, you standing next to me. You're not looking up. I'm not looking down. We need to come together and work not just on health care and the justice components of what's going on in this country. Those are two big aspects of it. And that's why a lot of us are here today. But I would even challenge you to make a third component. Community activism on these two issues. Let's get involved. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's talk to our children. Let's talk to the parents who are getting locked up, leaving their kids out here. We have to educate. Without education, you cannot have prevention. It is nothing wrong with wanting to know the answer to a question. Geniuses ask questions. Believe me, I do it all the time. I really am a genius. At least I test out like one. I ain't gonna say I am, but I test out pretty good. I just really hope, and this is the same question that I had for Reverend Sharpton and Martin and Dr. Steele and a host of other people as we sat in the church in Gina before everybody came down. Rev looked at me and said, "Warren, you're really quiet. You got this look on your face like something's disturbing to you. What's the problem?" I said, "Rev, my question is this a moment or is this a movement?" See, I don't want to be in the moment. And if I'm here just for the moment, this ain't where I'm supposed to be. See, and I look at this situation the same way. Is this going to be a moment that we're here? Or is this going to be an actual movement to make something happen? I told Dr. Treadwell today on my show, you have look, my show is yours. To help you raise money, to help you get the word out. We have to actively participate. And to all my young brothers in here, don't run from the older generation. Run to them. They know where the potholes in the road are, brother. Talk to them so you can avoid them. And then you teach that to the next generation. It's no way that the Civil Rights Act bill can be passed in '64 and we still got the problems that we got in this country in health care. We can come up with $30 million to bail out Stern and Bear, or Bear and Stern, or whatever they were bailing out. But when we need money for health care and education in this country, the cover is bare. That's unacceptable. You have in this city alone, I love Atlanta. I'm seriously considering moving to Atlanta. I do have issue with one thing, though. I have issue with the fact that it is so many affluent African Americans in this city and state. And when I see Clayton County losing all of the accreditation, and I'm the only one saying something about it, I got a problem with that. I got an issue with that. I got a problem with the TIs and the JDs and everybody being here making money off the N-word, and they don't even want to put nothing back to the ends. And what's hilarious to me, let's look at this realistically. When we was in slavery in this country, right? Okay, we was enslaved. We couldn't read and write, right? Everybody in here, if you can read and write, raise your hand. We had enough sense back in slavery not to say the N-word to each other when we was illiterate and didn't even know the understanding of the word. Where have we come today? I mean, maybe it's me, I'm young, maybe I'm just naive and hopeful. Maybe I'm just confusing my belief and my love in this country, that we can change the mentality in the hearts of men. Maybe, just maybe, it's my faith. See, I'm a real proponent of hope. Because if you have hope, you have faith. And the God that I love said, if you got a mustard seed of faith, I will move mountains for you. And maybe it's that in me that makes me want to say We cannot stop fighting. We cannot stop believing. We cannot stop giving. We cannot stop reaching out. I laugh at these people who say, Dr. King would be so upset with this and that, and Dr. King wanted black people to be this and that. I laugh because I don't think they really understand the principles of Dr. King. The principles of Dr. King was for all human beings, not just black people. All human beings. To be treated as human beings, to be loved by their brothers. We are all children of God if you believe in God, and if you're black, you don't have a patent on the Lord. If you're white, you ain't got a patent on the Lord. We must put together our common interests, our common good, our common love for mankind to educate them on what's going on in this country, not just with the justice and the medical, but with all things. Without that education, without that prevention, we are nothing but a third world country. When will I say enough is enough? When do we say, you know, I'm happy to be educated. I'm happy to be making money. I'm happy to have some status. But what about the person over there who has 3 kids, unemployed, no health care, 2 of the kids got asthma, and they have no way to get it in health? When do we say we have to go back to them? When do we say mothers having kids in jail are still mothers? When do we say, I'm through being about me? We have a case of the me-isms in this country. If it ain't about me, I ain't got nothing to do with it. When are we going to say it's about we? When are we going to say, you know what? We may have came here on different ships, but right now we all in the same boat. I'm going to leave you guys with this. I don't want to take up much more of your time. Because I get a little emotional sometimes when I hear speeches, because I want people to understand how important it is that we not just talk, but that we actually put something forward to make what we came to talk about a reality. There's a lot of doctors in here, y'all know what I'm talking about, a hypothesis, and then go to a theory, and y'all know what I'm talking about. My mother used to say to me, I'm going to tell y'all my nickname. Y'all better not tell nobody my nickname. My mother used to say to me, Trey, when you were born into this world, to be exceptional, that was your destiny. To fail is your choice. You guys have been exceptional. It's a lot of people out here who are trying, and they're not failing by choice. Reach back to those people. Help those people. I don't care how educated you are. I don't care if your nouns and your verbs don't mix. I don't care if you don't have any money. It's one thing that you can do for everybody in this room, in your neighborhoods, in this country. You can be serviceable. And all you need to be serviceable is somebody who has a heart. Those are words from Dr. King, and those are words that I believe. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. Do something serviceable starting tonight. Call somebody up, make sure they can have their blood pressure checked. Make sure your loved ones who may not be as affluent as you, you know we all got cousins like that. Find out what's going on. Find out what's going on. God bless you. Love you all.